The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. So the only thing that's necessary for the devil to win is for the servants of Yahweh to do nothing. I don't know who that saying there is by, but it does explain for us why the political arena is what it is today. It explains why we have some of the ridiculous, stupid laws that we have today, because you have young politicians that when they start out in their political career, you know, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and just the best of intentions, and they get up there and they start figuring out how the system works, and they're trying to maneuver through the system to make good things happen, you know, to kind of counteract the bad things that are going on up there. But what winds up happening is, I'm sure that you've heard of government pork. It's not talking about literal hogs, but the analogy is pretty accurate. What it's talking about is somebody will come up with an idea for a law. And laws have to be written into bills, and you know, they try to, when they write these laws, they try to cover every possible scenario that they can conceive of so that the law is complete in its intent and whatnot. So that the law is clearly understood to the point that even if something comes up that's not specifically written in the law, the intent of the law tells us how to handle the unconceived of situation that has arisen. Alright, and so he carries it around for all his folks up there that are going to vote on it to read, so they have time to read it to decide if they're going, if they read it, because a lot of them don't even read them. You know, they might go through and get a Cliff Notes version of it, or they might have one of their underlings read it and kind of explain it to them. But very rarely, I think, does anyone up there now read the laws because they're so ridiculously long. Alright, well what happens is, young politician, we'll call him 90, carries it and gives it to 89, 88, 87, you know, all the way down to politician number 1, and I don't remember the numbers, and y'all pick on me if you want to. I don't remember what laws have to be passed and so forth and so on, but let's just say he's got to be 50 out of the 90, alright? So, 50, you know, all 89 of them read it. They like it, but they've got these other things that they want done. You know, well, I want this corn subsidy passed for these farmers in this area, and this fella here, well, he wants some wheat subsidies passed for his folks over here, and you know, then you've got this other one that's from up north, and he wants a certain type of tariff lifted so that his constituents can ship raw materials or components in from overseas and you know, make more money. So what they do is they start, well, if you'll add this to your bill, then I'll vote yes on it. And if you'll add this to your bill, I'll vote yes on it. Well, you know, you've got 89 other people that have read it, and of those 89 people, 60 of them want to tack something onto it. Well, he says, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. Be glad to do it. So he tacks all that stuff onto it, and they get all the necessary votes, and it passes. But it's not just that new law that passes. It's the corn subsidies, the wheat subsidies, the lifting tariffs, and you know, tobacco subsidies, and just on and on and on and on and on. All right? So what he's done is he's compromised. Now, whether he knows what the subsidies are about or not is irrelevant. Because, for starters, they shouldn't have been tacked onto it. They just shouldn't have, period. Now, I don't know how they get away with doing that stuff. I'm sure that they have tacked their loopholes onto some other law that allows them to get away with doing that stuff. So, what he's done is compromised. And even a small compromise with evil is still a compromise with evil. And so what has happened is little compromise here, little compromise here, little compromise here for the past 150 years. And now we have so many laws written that there's no way that anybody can sit down and even read through all of them in a realistic amount of time. You know, people fuss about the 613 laws, or, you know, however many there are in the Torah. Okay, well, how about all the millions of laws in the country? And there are literally millions. I guarantee it. Because you've got federal laws, you've got state laws, you've got county laws, you've got city and town laws. All right, so that right there is 4 different types of entities. All right, well, there's only one federal government, so there are 50 states, I think. It used to be. When I was a child, there were 50 states. I'm not sure if we've added any or not. All right. So, in 50 states, how many counties are there? I don't have any idea. I'm sure you can do a little quick Google search and find out. And then, in all those counties, how many cities are there? Alright, well, cities and towns, you know, because I've got more towns around me than I do cities, but they still have their own sets of ordinances. You know, I've got... Well, no, that's in a different county. So there's that one, that one, that one, that one. So there are at least 5 towns and a piece of a city in the county that I live in. 6 towns, 7 towns, 8. Well, that one might be in another county, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where the county line is. Yeah, so there are at least 6 to 8 towns and a big chunk of, I'll say, a semi-major city. And, you know, not only do you have the city or town ordinances, but you also have the ordinances that go into effect within a certain distance that aren't in effect in the actual city or town itself. I mean, so there are literally millions of laws in this country, and folks want to fuss about 613 of them. The funny thing is if you obey the 613, you are going to obey almost all of the municipal laws and instructions in this country. But you see, it's those little compromises. Little compromise here, little compromise there. And that's how we are so far down that slippery slope that we're on. We're almost to the bottom. The country is 242 years old. Historically, most societies that survive to the 200-year mark destroy themselves from within. And empire, municipality, nation, whatever you want to call us, that destroys itself from within is dead. There's no recovering from that. Take Radio Shack, for example. Radio Shack was the architect of its own demise. Just like most other companies that fail are their own, the reason they fail is their own fault, you know. Same for the country. So don't compromise with evil. Never, ever, ever compromise with evil. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I trip all the time. I've got one sin that they just won't leave me alone about. And by they, I mean the evil ones. Because they know that if they pester me enough, I'm going to trip. I don't do it on purpose. I know I do it. I haven't figured out yet how to avail myself of the Father's strength and authority to be done with it, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that's the only sin that I have either, because I overeat occasionally. I'm not laughing about sin. But, so, that's just kind of where I stand on these things, you know, and I hope that more of you stand in a similar position, not because I'm right, but because, one, you should think for yourself. Two, well, actually, first, you should have self-control. Two, you should think for yourself. Three, learn how to not let disagreements be such an issue for you. If you don't agree with somebody, fine. If you're right and they're wrong, fine. Don't get angry. Don't get ugly. Don't call them names. You know, and I use the word stupid. I've actually got a dog named Stupid. He's very sweet and he's smart. He's a good dog. And I think the world of him. And another dog I have, they're not litter mates. They're not any kind of blood relation at all, except being descended from the original two dogs, and then maybe, you know, the first ones that Yahweh made, and then the two that came off the ark. And yes, I know there were only two dogs on the ark because dogs are unclean. So, but anyway, the other one's name is Smudge, and I think the world of her. But they're just dogs. Anyway, I forget why I started talking about that. Oh yeah, because of the word stupid. You know, I try not to call people stupid. I call their actions stupid. But that doesn't mean the person is stupid. They just may not have been thinking. They may just simply not know what the right or wrong thing to do in a situation is. But that doesn't make this person stupid. They're ignorant about how to handle a situation, and even saying ignorant, you know, calling someone ignorant isn't an insult. Or it can be, but, you know, used properly, it's not an insult. A lot of things I'm ignorant about. You know, I don't know how to write on soapy water with a big pen. I ain't yet been able to figure out what word rhymes with orange. So I'm ignorant about those things. Doesn't mean I'm stupid. It means I just don't know. So, don't be so quick to get angry. Don't talk ugly to people. You know, don't block people. Because there are a lot of times that I do come across as being certain and stuff like that, but there's still no cause to be ugly. And I try not to be. There are times that I'm wrong about things that I come across as being absolutely certain. There's no cause for you to get ugly with me. It's not your job to convince me that I'm wrong, just like it's not my job to convince you that you're wrong. That's Yahweh's job. All we can do is plant seeds with each other and be patient with each other. And I'm just talking about the people that the Messianic Torah observant people. You know, I'm not even talking about the outside world. By outside world, I mean the atheists and the Buddhists and the churchians or Catholics, Protestants, whatever you want to call them. You know, the Hindus. I'm not even talking about them. I'm just talking about within the group of people who claim to observe Torah and serve Yeshua Messiah. Those are the people I'm talking about. But anyway, Yahweh bless. I hope to see you all in the kingdom of heaven. And remember, Proverbs 18:13, Proverbs 18:21, and maybe more importantly, Acts chapter 17, verses 10 and 11, and 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. I hope to see you all in the kingdom of heaven.